Theresa May encouraged to exploit Angela Merkel to avoid £40 billion Brexit bill. Leading Brexiteer Jacob Rees-Mogg and former Tory leader Iain Duncan Smith have suggested that taking advantage of Mrs Merkel's uncertain future could be beneficial for the UK. Mr Rees-Mogg said, approving a higher divorce bill at this stage would be foolish. As for Germany, its domestic political concerns make it less likely that it would want to risk the damage that could be done to its industry from the UK imposing tariffs on its exports. Mr Duncan Smith echoed the sentiments of the MP for North East Somerset by suggesting that Mrs May should sit tight rather than conceding to the European Union. He added, when you look at what is going on in Europe, the idea that out of that chaotic situation can come any sort of understanding is clearly not right, so we will have to sit tight. Reports claim that the Prime Minister will discuss a shocking increase in the divorce bill in order to break the ongoing deadlock in Brexit negotiations when she meets with Donald Tusk on Friday. Plans of an increase gained further momentum yesterday after a top-level discussion involving Mrs May and senior cabinet members including key Brexiteers Michael Gove and Boris Johnson resulted in an agreement that the bill should be raised in order to progress talks. Conservative MP Robert Helvin warned against an increase in the divorce bill in fear of the public going bananas. He stated, if we start saying that we are going to give £40 to £50 billion to the EU, I think the public will go bananas, absolutely spare. I voted Remain but we voted to leave, the public want to leave, and I cannot believe that the public would accept such a huge amount when we need money for our schools, our hospitals, our housing and many other things. Mr Rees-Mogg joined his colleague by agreeing that a potential increase of £20 billion should be spent elsewhere by suggesting that a tax increase in the upcoming budget could be used to fund a blackmail EU settlement which would not be in the national interest and bad politics. He added, the government has to recognize as it is discussing the Brexit bill that it has a choice as to whether give lots of money to the European Union or to spend it on domestic public services. Angela Merkel's desperate political position comes after she joined calls in Germany for fresh elections in the wake of her coalition collapse. Mrs Merkel told broadcasters EDF that she would prefer fresh elections to a minority government with the Green Party, as Germany needed a stable government. A CDU Green minority government seemed to be the only way for the embattled chancellor to cling on to power after one of her prospective coalition partners walked out of talks. The Liberal FDP dropped out of the Jamaica coalition after parties failed to agree on key issues including immigration and Europe, with its leader Christian Lindner telling reporters it is better not to govern than to govern badly. Goodbye. However, another general election is now the most likely option for Germany, which has been left at a political stalemate for almost 2 months as the September 24 election failed to return a good result for Mrs Merkel. Her former coalition partners, the left-wing SPD, have ruled out a return to their grand coalition following the September election. SPD leader Martin Schulz has also refused to back Mrs Merkel in any deal and called for further elections this morning in the hope of regaining seats. The decision will now fall to Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who has the power to dissolve parliament and call an election, or encourage Mrs Merkel to carry on her negotiations. As coalition talks descend into chaos, however, it could spell the end of Mrs Merkel's career at the top of German politics.